You failed this family, the kingdom for myself!
There is still time to turn back.
No! I am done waiting!
Imagine waking up one morning and realizing the person sitting closest to you, the person who knows your weaknesses, your history, and your deepest struggles, is secretly planning your downfall. Not an enemy, not a stranger, someone you love, a family member, a child. This is the kind of betrayal that hurts differently because it attacks more than your position. It attacks your identity. A friend once said, "The people who can hurt you the most are usually the ones who had the greatest access to your heart." Thousands of years ago, one of the most powerful kings in history experienced exactly this. A father named David watched as his own son, Absalom, slowly transformed from a beloved child into a man consumed by anger, ambition, and revenge. But what makes Absalom's story so fascinating is not only what he did, it is why he did it. Because behind every act of betrayal, there is often a hidden story of pain, unmet expectations, pride, and a desperate desire to be seen. So what really happened inside Absalom's mind that turned a son into his father's greatest enemy? Before we uncover the psychology behind Absalom's revenge, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay until the end, because this story reveals something surprisingly relevant about human behavior today. Absalom's story is one of the most powerful examples of betrayal recorded in ancient history. Found in the biblical books of Samuel, Absalom was the son of King David, one of Israel's most famous leaders. At first glance, the story looks like a simple conflict between a father and son. But beneath the surface is something much deeper. It is a story about rejection, a story about identity, a story about what happens when someone carries pain for too long without healing. Psychologically, betrayal is not just an action. It is an emotional response created when trust is broken and a person feels wronged. Many people misunderstand betrayal because they think it always comes from pure hatred. But often, betrayal grows from a complicated mixture of emotions: disappointment, jealousy, resentment, insecurity, and the desire for control. Absalom's revenge was not born in one moment. It was built slowly. And understanding how that happened reveals a powerful truth about human nature. To understand Absalom's actions, we have to go back to the beginning. Absalom was one of David's sons. The Bible describes him as extremely attractive and admired by the people. But behind the image of success was a family filled with conflict. One major turning point involved Absalom's sister Tamar. After Tamar suffered a terrible injustice involving her half-brother Amnon, Absalom became filled with anger. But instead of immediate justice, the situation remained unresolved. For years, Absalom carried that anger. This is where psychology becomes important. Research on resentment shows that unresolved emotional wounds can become stronger over time when people repeatedly replay the pain in their minds. A person may begin creating a personal story. I was ignored. I was treated unfairly. No one cared about me. Whether every detail is accurate or not, the emotional experience becomes real to them. Absalom eventually returned to Jerusalem, but the relationship between him and David never fully healed. The distance between them created space for resentment. And resentment is dangerous because it rarely stays still. It grows. It searches for justification. It looks for an opportunity. Key characteristics of betrayal psychology. Number 1. The need to be seen. One of the strongest forces behind betrayal is the feeling of being invisible. People often do not rebel simply because they want destruction. Sometimes they rebel because they want recognition. Absalom appeared to crave approval and respect. He positioned himself publicly, listened to people's complaints, and slowly built loyalty among those who felt disconnected from David's leadership. The lesson is powerful. When people feel ignored for too long, They may search for another place where they feel important. Number 2. Resentment. Resentment is anger that has been stored. Unlike a normal emotional reaction, resentment is maintained over time. A person repeatedly remembers the hurt. They replay the conversation. They imagine what should have happened. Eventually, the original pain becomes connected to their identity. Absalom was not only angry about an event, he became someone defined by that anger. Number 3. Pride and ambition. Another major characteristic was the desire for power. Ambition itself is not bad, but ambition mixed with wounded pride can become dangerous. When someone believes they deserve something and feels denied, they may stop seeing relationships as relationships. They start seeing people as obstacles. Absalom eventually turned against his own father because his desire for recognition became stronger than his loyalty. Number 4. Emotional isolation. Many betrayals happen because people become trapped inside their own perspective. They stop asking, "Could I be wrong?" Instead, they ask, "How can I prove I am right?" Isolation creates an environment where negative thoughts become stronger. Without honest reflection, revenge can begin to feel justified. Absalom's story is ancient, but the psychology behind it exists everywhere today. In relationships, betrayal often begins when communication breaks down. A spouse feels ignored, a friend feels replaced, a family member feels forgotten. Instead of addressing the pain, they silently collect evidence against the other person. At work, resentment can create unhealthy competition. Someone who feels overlooked may sabotage others instead of improving themselves. In society, unresolved anger can create division because people begin identifying themselves through their wounds. The danger is that revenge often promises healing, but rarely delivers it. Absalom gained influence. He gained followers, but he lost the relationship he could never replace. One surprising fact about betrayal is that the strongest emotional reactions often come from people we trust the most. The closer the relationship, the deeper the emotional impact. Another surprising fact is that revenge is often less about hurting someone else and more about trying to regain personal control. People who feel powerless may seek revenge because it temporarily makes them feel powerful. A third surprising fact is that unresolved conflict does not disappear with time. Many people assume distance heals everything, but without understanding and communication, time can actually strengthen resentment. The greatest danger of betrayal is that it damages both sides. The person who is betrayed experiences pain and loss, but the person seeking revenge also becomes trapped. Absalom's pursuit of revenge eventually destroyed his future. His ambition consumed his relationships. His anger shaped his decisions, and the very thing he wanted most, recognition and respect, disappeared. Revenge often creates a cycle where everyone loses. The question becomes, how do we break that cycle? Solutions, treatment, and management. The first step in dealing with betrayal is acknowledging the pain. Many people try to ignore hurt because they believe ignoring it makes them stronger. But emotional wounds that are ignored often influence behavior in hidden ways. A healthier approach begins with asking, what exactly hurt me? Why did this affect me so deeply? What do I actually need moving forward? Experts often emphasize the importance of emotional awareness. Before reacting, understand the emotion underneath the emotion. Anger may actually be covering sadness. Revenge may actually be covering rejection. Pride may actually be covering insecurity. Another important step is communication. Many conflicts become worse because people create stories in their minds instead of having honest conversations. Healing also requires letting go of the desire to control another person's actions. You cannot force someone to understand your pain, but you can decide what kind of person you become because of that pain. Absalom allowed his wound to define him. But a painful experience does not have to become your identity. The question is not only, what happened to me? The deeper question is, who will I become because of what happened to me? Now that we have explored the psychology behind Absalom's betrayal, there is another important question. What is the difference between someone who experiences pain and grows stronger, and someone who experiences pain and chooses revenge? Because those two paths often begin in the same place, but they lead to completely different endings. A person seeking healing usually begins with pain, but searches for understanding. A person seeking revenge begins with pain, but searches for someone to blame. Both experience hurt. The difference is the direction they choose. Healing creates reflection. Revenge creates obsession. One asks, how can I move forward? The other asks, how can I make them suffer? Healthy processing protects relationships. Unresolved resentment destroys them. Absalom allowed his anger to become stronger than his connection with his father. A healed person considers consequences. A revenge-driven person often focuses only on emotional satisfaction in the moment. Healing transforms pain. Revenge transfers pain. Throughout history, we see similar patterns. In Shakespeare's play Hamlet, revenge becomes the force that controls the main character's choices. In modern stories like The Lion King, the character Scar demonstrates how jealousy and ambition can transform relationships into betrayal. In real life, many family conflicts, business rivalries, and political struggles follow the same pattern. A person feels overlooked. A wound develops. The wound becomes resentment. The resentment becomes action. Absalom's story is not only about betrayal, it is about what happens when pain is allowed to grow without healing. His revenge came from a mixture of hurt, pride, ambition, and unresolved anger. The lesson is clear. A wound that is not healed can influence the decisions we make. But pain does not have to control our future. What surprised you most about Absalom's story? Do you think betrayal usually comes from hatred or from deeper emotional wounds? Have you ever seen a situation where resentment changed someone's behavior? Share your thoughts in the comments, because these conversations reveal a lot about human nature. If this video gave you a deeper understanding of the psychology behind betrayal, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more stories that explore history, human behavior, and the hidden motivations behind famous events. And if you enjoyed this story, watch our next video where we uncover another powerful example of human psychology from history. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.